Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam. And I just wanted to talk, chit-chat, I guess, for a few minutes on some revelations, some stuff that came up for me, and hopefully this will help people to figure out what exactly it is that's going on for them. So, first and foremost, thank you to everyone who helped me out this weekend. I had no idea how important it was for me to go home until like just now. It was extremely important. The timing and everything was critical, and I really had no idea until just now. So I'll go back, start this story kind of from the beginning. So my brother actually did a concert this weekend. He's a gospel rapper. I've mentioned that a few times, and he had a peace fest. So I went up there to support him, and my mom, she was down here and she had to go because her band was playing. So I was going to drive my car, and it had an incident on Wednesday, and I was like, nah, I need to just get a rental. So as soon as it popped in my mind, man, I need to get a rental, I'm like, a couple $100 short. To my dad calls. He's like, well, how are you getting up here? I said, I need to get a rental. So he gave me the rest of the money for the rental. And then on Friday morning, I realized, okay, I got to have enough money for gas. My mom didn't have any money. And I said, okay, let me just see if I can get y'all to help me so that I can get through this weekend successfully. And it was a 100% success. So we were able to make it. I made it home in record time. It was literally like 10 and a half hours, which I don't think I've ever done. It took me longer to get back because I didn't get any rest while I was there. But I got there in record time. I got I was able to take a nap. We got everything set up. The event went okay. Then I had to help my dad with some of this paperwork stuff. I managed to pull that through. And then I woke up on Sunday morning because I wanted to go and visit the graves of like my grandparents, my great-grandparents down at the church. So I got up and I started hemming and hawing on what time I should go, because you know how people are. They think you're going to do something weird, and I didn't want to go at night. And I was like, well, you know what? Everybody will be in church. So if I go right now, nobody will see me, because I realized the church that they had built, it don't have no windows. It's so weird. Like, I didn't even think about that until I got there. Like, the church has no windows. There was no reason to build a church like that. The old church had windows, and this church has no windows. That's so weird. Anyway, so I get to the church. I go to my grandmother and my grandfather's grave and my great grandparents' grave. And my grandparents don't have a headstone, so I feel a certain way about that. Like, that needs to be rectified. But my great grandparents, they did, so I was able to cross the peace and all of that good stuff. I had wanted to burn some ancestor money, but I went during the day and I knew that was going to be a little bit too weird, so we didn't do that. We just I think when I do have my grandmother's headstone made, I'm gonna have a place where I can set a candle in it and also burn some ancestor money. That way it won't be weird. It'll be like, oh, it's built into her headstone, so it won't be a problem. So I go there, and then my oldest daughter's birthday is coming up, and so while we were there, I wanted her to see some of the girls that she grew up with, and we went to lunch. Now, because you all came through for me so much, I was able to We ended up having 6 girls all together, and 2 of the girls didn't have any money. So I didn't have to traumatize them with like, order the cheapest thing on the menu, okay, your limit is $10, that kind of thing. We didn't do none of that. I just said, because we went to a Thai restaurant and they hadn't had that kind of food before, I was just talking to them about what the food was, making sure they knew what they were ordering, that kind of thing. And so we were able to sit down and eat, and all the girls had a good time. And the 2 girls, they had they really liked the food. They had never had it before. It was a really, really good experience for them. And then they wanted to go roller skating. So we found a little roller skating place. We took them. They went roller skating. And 2 of the other girls, my friend calls them the broke best friends. All these girls are broke best friends. They didn't have any money to go skating. So again, I was able, in a non-traumatic way. Now, mind you, all of these things when I was growing up would have been traumatic. Like, going out to eat for somebody's birthday. Okay, I never had any money. So it was always like, dang, how am I going to get the money to pay for this? I got to, always traumatic. None of these things was traumatic. None of these girls was traumatized in the process. I just, I paid for it. It was no problem. All the girls went skating. We went back to pick them up. They couldn't all fit in a car that I rented. So my my brother came and got her, and then I dropped the rest of the girls off at home. Now, mind you, again, I dropped all the girls off at home. It wasn't no problem. It was no stress. All of these things, I can just think, if it was me and my birthday, it would have been stressful because my mom didn't have a car. When we did have a car, it didn't work all the way. Then you had to have gas. All of that stress was removed, like completely removed. And I was able to drop them off, and I got to see what their personalities was like. And now, mind you, all of these girls, I know all of their mothers. I'm friends with them, we were friends, like life is kind of, stuff. So we were friends. I knew them. I grew up with their moms. And so seeing them, I was like, oh my gosh, they are all exactly like their mother. Like, all of them. There was one girl who was missing. But they were all the ones they were exactly like their moms. And I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are so beautiful, and they're so nice, and they're so innocent, talkative, and all of that. I don't want them to lose that. Because when my child, I really talked to her about that. Like, don't lose your niceness, don't lose your lovingness, I want you to maintain that, right? And I just saw these girls, and I was like, I don't want the world to tear them up. Like, I don't want the world to beat them down, because the difference between me and all of their mothers really is that I'm like on an extremely like spiritual path. And a lot of what I do, it don't have nothing to do with what I can see in the real world. It's how I interact with the spiritual world. So for an example, while we're at lunch, my cousin, who her daughter is like exactly 6 months younger than my oldest daughter, she said, my mom was saying to her, oh, well, you should be able to retire soon. And she said, yeah, I'll be eligible, because they're making all the government workers go back into the office when they had promised them they would never have to go back. This is going to be a huge problem. So so she said, I'll be eligible, but I won't be able to retire because I have these bills, and then my daughter wants to go to college. And I was like, yeah, I'm actively trying to convince my daughter not to go to college. When she graduates, I want her to go on a cruise around the world for a year, and then if she wants to go to school after that, that's fine. And my cousin looked at me and she said, well, who's going to pay for that? And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about like how much that's going to cost. That's just what I want her to do. So figure it out. Then I hadn't even thought about it. I've been saying this for at least 6 months now. I hadn't even thought about how it was going to be paid for. It wasn't It wasn't a point of anything I had thought about paying for it. So here I am dropping these girls off at home, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to lose this like beautifulness that they have. Like, okay, so then I'm like thinking, okay, how am I going to take care of these girls? Like, I just started putting together a plan and all of that, and I was like, okay, this is what we can do. I can put them into my trust, then I can make sure they have money, and then I'll have Destiny manage it, and then she'll be the manager of the trust for her friends, and then I'll teach Daisy how to do it for her group of friends, and she can manage their trust, and then my son, I'll teach him how to do it for his group, and then all the groups can be managed, and then everybody will have money, and it won't be stressed out. I came up with a whole plan, like a whole actual plan on how to keep these kids to maintain their innocence and not be stressed out. Especially about money. We're going to be stressed out about something important, not about money. So I thought that was a really amazing, thought process. And so I started thinking about that. How I could make that work, how I could fund it, all that kind of stuff. Because I'm still anticipating the Most High showing up and giving me what I was promised. You know what I mean? So how am I going to make sure the ones who are in my vicinity, my charge, are taken care of? Because what's the point in getting a blessing of some kind of abundance if you don't have a plan on how you're going to make other people's lives easier, right? You got to have a plan for that. You can't just think it's not, the money's not going to show up and you're just going to give it to homeless people. That's fine, but what about the people who are in your charge? What about your community? You got to make sure these people are taken care of. That's why you're going to be given the abundance. If you don't have a plan for taking care of the people who are around you, then how are you going to, why would the Most High give you anything? Because he's giving it to you so that you can be the steward over it. That's what a trustee is. He's trusting you with the abundance so that you can help the others. He's not trusting you with the abundance so that you can keep it for yourself. That's what is wrong with the Leviathan worshipers. They want the abundance to keep for themselves. That's not how that's going to work. Otherwise, you're not going to get the abundance because it has to be given out to those people around you. That's the whole point. So, anyway, I don't leave up the road until it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was 2 o'clock on Sunday night, early Monday morning when I finally got on the road. Now, mind you, I had to return the rental at 3:30. So, and I had to stop and take a nap because it was 2 o'clock. So I took about a 2-hour nap. When I got about 2 or 3 or 4 hours in, I took about a 2-hour nap. And then I was pushing it like we was flying. And then when I got into Georgia, I was like, 2 weird things happened. One weird thing is if you've ever driven 95 in Georgia, there's always a lot of police. And so I said, I don't see enough police out. Where are the police at? It's Sunday. They're always, on Monday, they're always out during the day. Where are they? And I didn't see that many. And then about halfway through the state, I started to see more of them. And I was like, yeah, because I knew there had to be some more. That was weird. And the other weird thought was that, I need to get away from these trucks because a rock might fall off the back and hit the windshield. And that's a huge problem if you have a rental car, if a rock hits the windshield. Luckily in Florida, that kind of stuff is covered if you have insurance, but it's still a pain it's still a headache to deal with. So I was like, well, that's a weird thought. Why am I having that thought? Of all the thoughts to have, why have that one? It was very strange. And so I immediately recognized that it wasn't my thought, right? So I said, well, that's not even my thought. Well, I don't know where that thought came from. I'm just gonna forget that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't think that, because that's not even my thought, right? So I get back home. We made it on time. I returned the car at like 3:15. I was still able to drive home. I get in the house, I get the van unloaded, I get in the bed and I go to sleep. And then I woke up and I got something to eat. I had to go pick up the bus because I had to drive the bus this morning. So I went to go pick up the bus, and then I came back and I had some more food because I was starving. And then I went to sleep and it was good. So while I was, so this morning, after I had woken up about 5:30, and I was like, oh, it's still a little bit too early. Let me go back to sleep. I went back to sleep, and I had like a nightmare. It felt like a nightmare because in a dream, it was 7:30 when I woke up, and I was supposed to drive the bus to pick up the kids. So when I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late. I didn't know if anybody had been calling me. I didn't know anything. I was just like, oh my God, I'm late. I'm going to have to get somebody else to drive this bus, because if I can't wake up early enough to drive it, then I know that means I shouldn't be doing it. And that was in a dream. It felt like a nightmare. Now, why that felt like a nightmare, I don't know. So then when I drove the bus this morning, it took us like an hour and a half to get to school because it was like some traffic on the route that we normally take. So I say all this to say, it seems like I kind of drug it out, but I say all this to say, this eclipse that's coming up, this is how this ties in. All right, this eclipse that's coming up is ending out an 18-year cycle. So you have to look back to 18 years ago to see what cycle is being eclipsed out. Now for me, 18 years ago, I moved away from home for the first time to go to college. Not the first time. I moved like further away from home because I had moved. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't have a place to stay. I was staying with my cousin because we didn't have a house. And my mom and my sister and my brother were staying at my grandmother's house. I couldn't stay there because my school was too far. I had rehearsals, so I was staying at my cousin's house. So when I went to college, I didn't have another place to go, like when I was out. So about 2003, 2004 is when I moved into an apartment. So then, like on the holidays and stuff like that, I had somewhere to go. So, but basically, I moved away for the first time from down in the country, and I had forgotten that I was talking to this guy, and his mother. She loved me when I was doing all this work for her like a slave, and then she hated me when I was like, I'm not doing this stuff. Why would I do this? So I started to remember. Well, first I remembered that was the first time I moved away from home. That was a few days ago. But this morning, I remembered the rest of that, like the rest of what that was like. That was at the time I was in a band, and I met one of the girls. The girl who didn't come, that's when I met her mother, and we basically had babies like at the same time. Her daughter is 6 months older than my daughter. So that was when I had met her. That was when I was talking to that guy and his mother. She had me building all this stuff at her house and designing, because I can build and design. I did that in high school. So, and literally building. Like I built her a pergola. She wanted a bunch of stuff. And it was so cheap. I would design it. I was setting it up. I was building and designing. And then she was giving me money for it, but it wasn't worth as much as, the energy that it took to design it. And so she had put her son out. So when I met him, he didn't have anywhere to stay. So I told him I would help him. And I got him into the military. He tested really high. So he was doing computer stuff. He probably making like 6 figures right now. I don't talk to him. But he's probably making 6 figures because I got him to go into the military when his body shape could handle it. And then he took that and went and worked for the government, being a coder or something like that, right? So I really made this man successful. His mother could not do it. And I did. I made him successful. I turned him into a success. And so I just started to remember all of this stuff that went along with it. Like, even the whole thing with going to the church, I remembered that we were going to get married, and I had gone to the pastor at the church and said, I want to get married, but I don't want y'all to, I didn't like those people. I don't want y'all to officiate my ceremony. I want to get another pastor who also did stuff at the church, who was in the same denomination, to officiate the marriage, because that was more meaningful to me. Well, they said, no, you can't do that. If you want him to officiate your wedding, you get him, you go to his church. I was like, but that's not my church. This is my church. My church, not your church. You just showed up here. I've been here for a long time. So anyway, we didn't get married, luckily. But I just started to remember all of this stuff that was going on. So what may be happening to you is you may be like, you have to clear. Okay, so wait, before I go on to that part. So this guy I was talking to, his mother, she was extremely overweight. Extremely overweight. And one of the problems I've had is that the way that I see my body in my head is it don't match. Like, even if, like, when I go to the gym and work out and stuff like that, it doesn't match. The workouts that I can do and the workouts I do, it doesn't match how my body looks. And so if you've been listening to anybody do readings and stuff like that, they've been saying a lot about how this man and his mother, and they've been attacking you and this and that. And I attribute it to a lot of different people. And it's not saying that none of those other people weren't doing this, because I absolutely do believe that there was a lot of different people doing magic on me, but I had forgotten about them. I totally forgot. And so I was like, oh, this is what that is. This is these people, whoever was around in your life 18 years ago, those are the ones that started this cycle. And so what's happening now is they are being eclipsed out. But that entity, because it's not really the person, it's the entity that they're carrying. The entity is looking for a new host. So I think what these entities do is they it's like an 18-year cycle. They do a contract with these people for 18 years. They give them 18 good years. But in exchange for 18 good years, they have to, pick a host for them for the entity to take up 18 years later. And so you have these different entities that now those contracts are up with those individuals, and they already sold your soul to them. A lot of the people 18 years ago was before we woke up. Me, I wasn't awake at 18, 19. I wasn't awake at that time. So it was before I woke up. And so now it's 18 years later. That lady already sold my soul. She sold my soul before I knew who I was. She sold my soul. And so now that entity is coming to collect me, which is why I've had all of this crazy stuff happen, because I even think, like, she had a problem with her cars. She never had a car. It was always a problem with her car. And I said to her more than once, because she had money. Money wasn't the issue. I had said to her more than once, why don't you just go get a new car? This is an old car. Just go get a new car. And she said, no, I'm not getting a new car, this and this, this and this. And I was just like, because I had a new car, right? Because of the way the Most High set me up. I had a new car. She didn't have a new car, and I couldn't understand why she wouldn't just go get one. So instead of her going to get a new car, she would just keep getting her old car fixed over and over and over again. And that car was terrible shape. So that's why I had all this stuff with the car. They took my nice car, gave me no car, then took my, no car, gave me an old car. This is this demon trying to, hey, she already sold me. Sorry. She already sold me. So that demon is coming to collect on what was already sold. So now there's a problem because I am way, way, way more powerful than she ever was. So you trying to come and collect me, it's not going to work because I can't be bought or sold. I already been bought with a price. So how are you going to come and collect? It's not possible. And this is why a lot of these people you're going to see people dropping because they can't come and collect on their contract with you. Because you were sold before you woke up. And so now these entities are roaming around trying to figure out what they're going to do. So that's why you've been attacked so heavily. Is because these entities are trying to soften you up so they can find a way in. Remember, it was always when Israel got in trouble, it was because we were doing stuff we were sinning. But they can't find a vice because we've done so much shadow work. They can't find a way to get in. There's no way in. We sealed the exits. They don't have a way in our org field, and when they try to put their tentacles in, that didn't work. Then they try to go to the people around us. They can't get in them either because we have done the clearing out for our bloodlines, our children's, our whole family. We did so much of that work, sealing the exits that they don't have a way in. So then they just start projecting it onto you, knowing hey, this is our last-ditch effort. Let's project it onto them. They know it's not theirs. We know it's not theirs. Let's see if we can project it onto them and get them to accept it. If they accept it, that's our way in. We got them. And that didn't work either. Like with the whole car thing. I was like, that's not even my energy. That's not even my thought. I reject that. They couldn't get in. So you may notice, this is what we're talking about, controlling your thoughts and recognizing which thoughts are yours and which ones aren't, and all of that stuff. This is how all of that stuff ties together. And so the work we've been doing is really, really important. So the reason why it was so important that I go up the road was to see these girls that are in my, my energetic field, my energetic charge, and also to resolve, the wounds of the church and all of that stuff, and my grandparents and whatnot. All of those things had to be resolved before this eclipse because all of the negativity associated with it is going to be removed. Because I was even thinking the house I grew up in is for sale. So I'm like, okay, I might buy that house. I'm not going to live up there, but I could buy that house, set it up as my office. And when I come up there, if I'm going to see clients or whatever, I can see them up there. I can set it up, this and that, just have a place to stay when I go up there. And it'll be the house that I grew up in because the house I grew up in is over 100 years old. It was a manor house. That's a whole nother thing. I got a whole long story about that. So, because the house next door to it is also a part of that whole thing. So I could just see how it was really important for me to get up there, to put my eyes on things, to put my energy up there, and not have it be negative, but have it be positive. I have very positive response to all this stuff. It was not, oh, I'm so angry, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, no, I'm so grateful for my grandparents and my great grandparents. I'm grateful to be able to come up to this church, and I'm not stepping foot in that place, but I'm grateful to be able to come up here. I'm grateful to see, there's an opportunity for me to purchase my house I grew up in, that kind of stuff. I was just very grateful. I'm grateful to be able to support my brother and my mother, and see my dad, and see all these girls, and give them an experience like they never had. Like, I was very, very grateful during the whole thing. And so there was no there's no way they can penetrate my field, because I'm way too grateful to have these experiences. Like, I don't hate any of the individuals or whatever involved. I just say, Lord have mercy on their souls, because I'm not responsible for what my ancestors do. Because there's a lot of things that have to be reconciled, and all these people who sold my soul. And so that's just one person. I do believe that it's other people that sold my soul too. I think my soul was sold multiple times, during multiple stages. It's just, this is the one that I'm seeing right now. This is the one that's coming up. But I do believe others sold my soul too, for other reasons, just based on my experiences. So I'm sure those will come up with different moons, but it's like observing these moon cycles is really important, because then the stuff that needs to go can be dealt with. The blockages, whatever, it can be dealt with. So I tell you guys this whole story to say, you may have stuff coming up from 18 years ago, 2003, 2004. You want to process these things. Look for, areas where people did stuff to you, so that you can forgive them, and you can heal that energy, because these demons, they've been working this 18-year cycle for a long time. They're trying to, they're trying to find someone to jump onto, and you were promised, and so you have to forgive them, so that this thing can't jump onto you. Otherwise, you're going to notice that, hey, this thing jumps onto you. Maybe, and look for things that, that's how I figured out this part of it. Because like I said, the way that I feel, and when I think about how I look, it doesn't match how I actually, like, my body is shaped. It doesn't match. And it doesn't make sense, because nobody in my family is carrying around this much extra weight. Like, nobody. My family is not shaped like this. My grandmother never was shaped like this. Never. And my mom's not shaped like this. My sister's not. Nobody. On my dad's side, not really. They weren't shaped like this. I am the only one shaped like this. This is not my body shape. And so I remembered, that lady was really overweight, and she was really sick and stuff all the time. I said, that's who it was. She sold my youth and my body shape, literally, and my health, so that she could live. And so that's what that demon was promised. They promised her my body shape and my health, so that she could live. And now, I don't know what's going to happen, Hopefully she repented, got that thing off of her. But I'm not responsible for what my ancestors do. I'm not supposed to be shaped like this. I'm supposed to be shaped like my daughter, my sister, my mom. I'm not supposed to be shaped like this. This don't even match how, like, when I go to the gym, the way that I work out, it doesn't match how I'm shaped. It makes no sense. Which also explains, like, every time I start going to the gym and losing weight, then something would happen, because if I lost weight in this body, that means she had to be putting it back on. So then some other kind of magic had to be done. When people make these deals with these entities, they got to keep it up. You don't just do it. You're not one and done. You got to keep doing it to keep it up, especially if we unlock new DNA sequences, because then they're promising these demons a version of us that don't exist anymore. That version of me in 2003, that version don't exist anymore. So if you promise them me from 2003, I'm not that person. And as much as that entity tried to drag me back into being that person, they couldn't do it. They couldn't drag me back into being that person. I'm not that person. Not that I was a bad person, but I'm literally just not that person anymore. And so stuff may be coming up, like I said, from 2003, 2004. This cycle with this full moon is going to clear that out. And so, like I said, you want to forgive all the people involved. You know, Lord have mercy on them. You know, hopefully they repented, you know, and they dealt with that thing. But I'm not responsible for what my ancestors do. And I won't be responsible for that. All I can say is I can't be sold because I was already bought with a price. So how you going to sell me when the Most High put his stamp on me? I don't know why these people think that was a good idea, an idea they should do at all. I don't know. But obviously, it's gonna cost, and I don't know what they're gonna have to pay with. I don't know. And so if stuff comes up from that time, especially people who have been facing some like heavy warfare, like a lot of that stuff is it's gonna be eclipsed out. You just want to forgive the people involved, like I said, and just kind of wipe your hands of it. There's nothing you can do. But if you don't give it up, it's you are going to be taking on that demon that they tried to attach, that you were sold for 18 years ago. So, you know, just keep that in mind, that's what this week is this demon. Like, okay, well, we're done with that person. Our contract is up based on this moon. Now we got to start a new contract. And they're not going to be able to because a lot of people are doing the work. So this is why we have to take these moons very seriously. And if you subscribe to the thought that the moon is a satellite, that's even more so. That's where they process all these contracts. So if you're working with the moon to negate all of these contracts, they can't re-up them. They can't. Ooh. If the moon is where all these contracts are processed, they literally cannot do anything. They cannot re-up these contracts because a lot of our DNA, we got new key codes. And so they're trying to, it's like, think about it like a government building, right? Let's go, say you go to the DMV. Let's say IRS. You go to the IRS and you're looking for your tax records for 2003. But you have a new social security number. So you give them your new social security number and say, okay, I want my tax records for 2003. And they're like, yeah, we can't find those tax records. And you're like, well, I don't know. I need those records. That's what these. I need those records. That's my person. Here's the number. Find the contract. And the people are looking at them like, this contract don't exist. This number don't exist. That person doesn't exist. Now I can see why I've had so many name changes, why I had to change my name again. Because that person don't exist. They're a person on paper, but we already know the people on paper are dead. So who am I in real life? Well, I'm Amonute Tayac of Piscataway. You looking for who? Oh, I don't know who that is. Well, let me see the file. No. There is no file. File's been deleted because I'm a new person. Not an old person. I'm a new person. This is why you have to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your mind has to be transformed. Your mind. If your mind is transformed, free your mind and the rest will follow. It's in the songs, but Anyway, I just think that this is unbelievable. And I wanted to share this because the stuff that's coming up from that time, accept it. You got new names, new this, new that. That's because these demons, you were sold. These demons are looking for you to attach themselves to you. But in the mother and the father and their great wisdom, they've given us new identities so they can't find you. So if they're looking for you, they will seek, but they will never find because you're a new person. And they certainly ain't looking for no aim on you. They're not going to be able to find me. I'm a new person. And I made sure to seal my contract with Mother Nature as being this new person by going and visiting the graves of my ancestors. So I'm tying myself back into them so they know who I am energetically. But as when they go and look for the names, nah, and the numbers and the sequences or whatever, they're not going to be able to find me. And that's how it is for us. And so, congratulations to everyone who's been doing the work. You're going to see it really start to show up. This week, you want to just keep it a high vibration. I already announced the fast. I'm actually going to start fasting tomorrow. We have our meeting tomorrow for the full moon in Taurus. That's on Saturday. So if you're interested, you can join the newsletter. It's in the description below, or join the Discord. The link will be in the Discord. I'm going to send an email out probably tomorrow afternoon for our meeting. And I know that this is working. We are going to, in 3 years time, we're going to be unrecognizable. We're already unrecognizable. Well, we're going to be unrecognizable even within our energy. And so I want people to keep the faith, hold on. Don't let these things that happened to you in the past continue to attach themselves to you, because you're not that person anymore. You're a totally different person. You're a totally different person. And it's unfortunate that these people thought that they could sell you, because they're going to have to die by that them same gallows that they hung for you, that they built for you, is the ones that they're going to hang in. And, Lord have mercy on their souls, for sure. So, shalom, everyone. Hope this meets you well, and we'll see you in the next video.